Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Library of Ruina reaction. Today we have a comment that had about 150 likes last time I saw it. Gebura's battle theme. I don't know if that's the way to say the name exactly. I'm probably saying it wrong. I probably look stupid, but hey, I'm here. I'm going to listen to it. Apparently this is a 3-stage battle theme, and another sub-comment said I at least need to listen to one of them. So I'm going to listen to all of them, of course. Why wouldn't I? I'm here. But without further ado, let's go. Wow. Okay, that was... You never expect it to start that aggressively. Ooh. Ooh. Already starting pretty high energy in general, too. Like, it's gonna be interesting to hear how this scales up. Assuming it's following the usual pattern of stage 1, stage 2, stage 3... being the strongest and most impressive part. I would already put this at like a stage 2 or 3, so you're starting at 100. How are they gonna crack that ceiling wide open? The riff game is so strong here. Bias to the playful drum part. Like, kind of fun with the patterns on the kick drum. Not complex patterns, but they're varied, which is nice. I've never been like a huge fan of just laying on the double pedal constant for the entire song. It's all right, but I much prefer stuff like that where it patterns it out a little bit, gives some room to breathe. Love that pattern too. Always have. That's one of my favorite personal ones. Sick shred solo. Woo! Not done yet. I thought that solo was over. Another chunk. Okay. Getting a lot of solo. See, like, I love that, the accent of that. The kick pattern there is... I'm getting into this one more and more. Like, the longer it sticks around, the more I'm digging it. Ooh. Oh, there. We are scaling up. Woo. 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 Changing up the snare pattern too. Hello. That's a lot of changes in a short period of time. Jesus Christ. I love this. Ooh. I was really wondering how they were gonna scale up. I didn't expect this, like, power metal advance on this. I'm even more impressed that I know this is a full song. but I didn't feel any transitions. There was no transitions in there at all. That was just a straightforward piece. That's got to be the smoothest three-tiered song I've ever heard. All right, so I went back and specifically listened to the spots that are marked out as like song 2, song 3. I couldn't really hear a transition, so I have a feeling that this might just be one giant song that they separated later. Wow. That's really cool. It's not often that you hear a song that is all one piece actually, and then separated after the fact in game. Usually they just have like some sort of artificial like splicing happening, if anything at all, or it's like very abrupt and you notice the change at the end of each phase. This one was really smooth. I guess you could kind of feel where it happened, but it was also more in like the accents afterwards. The third one was much easier to hear that transition because that's when the voices kicked in. But the second one, I don't even think I would have noticed that transition. Maybe the spot where it had that like glitchy bit, but like that's where I would have assumed the transition happened, not slightly before. So that's really interesting. It's not common at all to see that. I like seeing that because it feels so one piece, instead of like three separate emotional like beats being advanced on. But this one, like I said during the reaction, it kind of felt like it started at 100 and I wasn't sure where they were going to go. I didn't even like process that going the like power metal double time route for whatever reason. I didn't even think about that happening. So that was a great decision there. It brought everything up. The energy continued to rise, but they didn't like stick in that either. They didn't like lean into that too much. It was there, but they still had their patterning happening. They still had the variety in there. The variance of everything in this was very nice. Adding the vocals in there, for example, to add another layer. It's like there is definitely little things to continue bringing the energy up, but I was concerned at the first bit because I didn't know that they would be so smooth with it. The song was written in D minor, hands down. You can kind of tell when it's D minor. There's just a lot of characteristics in there that are pretty obvious, and it's used a lot in metal. And in general, when you're trying to go for like a somber, a little bit of a sad, but not like a depressing tone, you know, you can get there, but not always. There's songs like Poor Unfortunate Souls from The Little Mermaid, for example, are down there. 21 Guns by Green Day is down there. There's also ones like that do the exact opposite, that use the relative key of F major, that sound completely different despite using the same notes. Like, I think Part of Me by Katy Perry and like Uptown Funk by Bruno Mars. Like, we're talking ridiculously completely opposite spectrum tracks utilizing this key, and metal uses it a lot as well. I know quite a few Avenged Sevenfold songs use this. Afterlife is definitely one of them. It's just a very popular key for metal because it likes to ride that line of uplifting and depressing slash sad, usually pressing on those more controversial or very like emotionally heavy topics, even if that's something as simple as a breakup or as serious as a life-altering suicidal moment, for example. It is definitely not a key to be trifled with, and it can do anything you want, and that's why having the relatives between the two is so important, because you can reach either the highs or lows depending on what you're trying to touch on without really having to move too much. It just depends on the relationship of where you start and how you want to evolve it. Like, in case anybody here doesn't know music theory all that well and doesn't really understand what the difference is here, literally it's only where it starts with the relative keys. So for example, F major starts on F, but uses the exact same keys going up as D minor does for its scale, but in D minor, you start on D. I'm gonna play a D minor and then an F major, and you're gonna see what moving just the scale up 2 notes without changing any keys you press, just where you start, can change the mood of a song. That's absolutely wild, in my opinion. I love that little change, that's it, is what makes music really like work for you. It's really what makes it tick. But back on the actual song itself, as I mentioned, I really liked the patterning in this. It left a lot of room for breathing, which in a lot of metal stuff is never actually followed through with, because a lot of people aren't drummers and it feels too like boiled over. There's like way too much information happening all at once. Like there's too much double pedal, and that's all they're doing is just laying into it and just not really like making finesse around anything. And I much prefer a slightly more technical approach than just literally laying on everything that your limbs can manage all at once. It's a little too much for me. I much prefer stuff like this that allows the rest of the song around it to breathe and have its time to shine instead of just drowning it out with crazy drums going through the entire track. I also think it's really cool that during that snare pattern change up for the second part, it's basically doing what the kick was doing for the first part of the song and of course continued doing, but then the snare matching that helped bring everything into like a new movement. Like that was part of the song where I'm like, are we in the second part yet? I'm pretty sure we are. It feels different enough. That was one of the factors that my ear caught where I'm like, this is different notably compared to the first part. So like those little contextual cues in just the beat being played, just the rhythm section can matter so much. And as we learned by the double timing in there as well, it helped bring it into the third. And by the time the vocals came in for that section, you were already like familiar with where it was going. It was ramping up very smoothly and then it got there. It's not only like the theory stuff I loved about this, it's definitely the patterning and the actual performative art on this one, especially for the drums. As a drummer, I'm of course biased there, and it's what I noticed the most. There was obviously like a 6 solo the entire way through this track, all the way through it. I think they started that solo in part 1, and I don't think it like ended until the end of the song. It was, most of it was just someone shredding, and that is awesome. I think that was another part that was kind of a part 2 send as well, or I was like, I think we're in a different section because that solo is going really, really hard right now, and it kind of was. So there's a lot of factors in this song that actually helped it separate out, but it didn't like physically stop the track or have you like reconfigure your thought process for like another evolution where it changed a bunch of stuff about the emotion it's trying to pull. Like I said earlier, I think it really just boils down to me being impressed that they were able to do this so smoothly all the way through, seemingly all in one go, unless this uploader just did an extremely good job at like fading between the two and doing a crossfade. But anyway, I think that's about all I've got to say on this one. Definitely a sick song. I definitely see why people wanted me to listen to this one. That was one of the most metal tracks I've heard out of a mobile game in a hot minute. But anyway, if you like this video and you want to request something new from Library of Ruina or anything else in Project Moon or any game ever, anime, doesn't really matter, drop it in the comments below and we'll see what happens. If people like it, I'll get to it. And either way, if you like this video and you want to follow me and support me for more in the future, you know how to do all that, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye!